GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network. You're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast on the Gear Radio Network.
And with that, we welcome you to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. This here is episode 187.
Episode 187 on a mother, you know, it's the BLTD podcast, baby. Enjoy the show. I did not mean to rhyme there, Ryan, but
that was impressive. That was very impressive. It's this one is episode 187 entitled It's Nice to See You. I know John saw you a couple days ago. It's very
Indeed.
Nice to see you. Very nice to see Mr. Perez.
You and Lewis, yes. And it was funny because as soon as Perez walked in, I was like, oh my God, I think this is the first time. I said, I think this is the first time this year the three of us have been in the same place at the same time. And then we kind of thought about it and was like, yeah, holy crap, it really was.
First time in a long time, but hey, it won't be the last time. That's for damn sure. But
Indeed.
Before we get started here, as always, this episode is brought to you by PuckLuck.com, your one-stop resource for all your National Hockey League sports betting action. The Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing, and PuckLuck provides win percentages and score projections for each and every National Hockey League game to tilt the ice in your favor. Not sure what to bet or just in a rut, not to worry. PuckLuck also provides expert picks to get the puck bouncing your way. Please note, though, PuckLuck.com, no way affiliated with the National Hockey League, its teams, or the NHLPA. PuckLuck.com provides data related to gambling and cannot guarantee the success of any suggested or related wagers. As always, please gamble responsibly. As for this podcast, you can hear us on BetterLiveThanDead.com, GearNetwork.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, join, leave a comment, whatever you got to do on whichever podcast platform you got. Do it for
or go on all of them and subscribe, every single one of them. That'd be great. That would be great. Hell yes.
I am Ryan Wolfe. You can find me on the internet somewhere. Joining me not on the phone, joining me live, John Cimino.
Live and in show enough living color.
Yeah. Our rundown today, our intro, we ain't got one because we want to jump right into the three big things. I know John and I actually, before I left a Memorial Day shindig, I had to remove myself because John and I started going off. And I had to make sure we didn't ruin the podcast. So we're here now talking.
I told the one thing I told you to say for the podcast, I completely forgot what you said. So it'll be a surprise to me now. And just I'm flying off the seat of my pants. Like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We just going to talk about something.
That's all right. We're going to start with the National Football League, John. The New York Jets owing the NFL. Very weird. This is what you wanted to talk about that I saved because when the NFL schedule came out for the season, per ESPN, quote, the New York Jets landed a record number of primetime games over the first 3 months of the 2024 season, simply because the appeal of four-time MVP Aaron Rodgers was too great to ignore, which is something the National Football League acknowledged, quote, yes, it is an awful lot of primetime games early in the season, but obviously I feel like the Jets kind of owe us one. That's Mike North, the NFL's vice president of broadcast planning. Now, the Jets have 6 night games in their first 11 weeks, John, the most for any team since the 1970 merger, according to the Alliance Sports Bureau.
And I'm not in that for that reason alone, as well as some of the others later on in the season. And inevitably, if they fail, I didn't buy Sunday ticket this year because I don't need to.
I don't disagree. Yeah. Monday, September 9th, they play the 49ers at 8:20 p.m. on ESPN. Thursday, the 19th of September, they host the Patriots at 8:15 p.m. on Amazon Prime. Monday, October 14th, they host the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. Sunday, October 20th, they are at the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Thursday, October 31st, they play host to the or they play the Texans. I don't know because that wouldn't make sense to have 2 Thursday night games at home, but this looks to be incorrect, so that's okay. Either way, Thursday night football.
It's a home game. It's a home game against the Texans.
Thursday night football there, and then Sunday night football, they take on the Indianapolis Colts on the 17th of November. So
don't forget too on October 6th at 9:30 in the morning in London against the Vikings.
Yeah, so they're all over the place, man. How do you as a Jets fan feel about that? Because again, you're putting a lot of pressure on a team that, we've gone back and forth about this, John. But I would say, given the circumstances of last season, the Jets overperformed, understandably so.
I would agree.
Coming into 2024 with all of these expectations, with a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear, how are you feeling about all of this?
I feel a little bit better about this season for the Jets than I did maybe last season. Like last season, it was pretty clear that they had a very good team, but it was built around Aaron Rodgers and they had no contingency plan. If you remember last year, the whole idea was Aaron's going to play the whole season. We're redshirting Zach Wilson and he's not going to see the field unless it's, unless we're in playoff contention and we're resting starters or something like that. But, the idea was Zach Wilson wasn't really going to see much of the field at all. And then 4 plays into that first game on Monday night against the Bills, and Zach Wilson ends up seeing the entire season on the field. And it's not that I don't think he did terrible, he obviously didn't really do good. He lost he lost the starting job, but he had a much better team around him that last year than the year before. So there was still, if you're looking at Robert Saleh's overall record, it's not impressive, but you see incremental growth over time. I think this year is a absolute make or break year. If the season kind of falls by the wayside again, hopefully if it happens, it's not at the expense of someone getting injured or whatever, regardless of what you feel about, the person, Aaron Rodgers. I don't wish injury on anybody and don't want to see that kind of thing happen to people. So if they're gonna fail, I hope it's through bad play and not through like a circumstantial injury that takes someone out. And I think at that point, at the end of this season, it's going to be one of two things. If the Jets don't make the playoffs, that whole regime's getting let go and they're starting over again. I would not be surprised to see Aaron Rodgers retire after this year if they don't make the playoffs. He's already said that, he expects to play at a high level. And if he doesn't, he feels that everybody's going to be gone. And then I think the Jets are going to really kind of commit again to their younger folks. They're already talking about extending Sauce Gardner. $110 million contract apparently is what's being discussed for him. That's on the table. So they just re-upped Quentin Williams, and so he's locked in, and they're going to want to secure Brees, and then secure Garrett Wilson. Like they have a good group of core people here. I think now it's going to be really about Aaron Rodgers and also Tyrod Taylor to an extent. They got he's been a very, very good backup for a very, very long time. And I mean, Bills fans know him. Bills fans love him. He was the starting quarterback the year that the drought was broken. How crazy would it be if Aaron Rodgers were to go down or maybe not play well and get benched and Tyrod comes in and the Jets rally around Tyrod and he ends the Jets playoff drought, right? How crazy would that be?
Wild, yeah.
Wouldn't it?
I mean, looking outside, looking in right now, it seems like the turmoil and the narrative is already kind of being written for the Jets. And as much as I hate that for you, John, I think if they succeed, the story's obviously very simple to write, but if they fail, I think the story is very simple to write already, and it's only May.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
you're placing all your chips at the hands of an aging Hall of Fame quarterback who is coming off an injury that players are rarely better. I think rare. I wouldn't say never, because I mean, we've seen in basketball, some guys come back from Achilles tears and they are as good or better than they were before because obviously of age and the ability of their straight up of their body. Because, some people, we joke about it, are built different, but some people legitimately are built different.
Sure.
But looking at how good the defense has been for the Jets, if they falter a little, there you go. If the offense falters a little, there you go. If Rodgers gets hurt again or isn't effective, there you go. There have been stories this offseason about how Robert Saleh in the Jets front office may not be sold on Nathaniel Hackett, and they're trying to find a kind of a built-in fail-safe there. And it's again, these are not things you hear from successful teams, sure.
Right.
But also the Jets are kind of being propelled into prime time almost against their will. And it's will they collapse under the pressure? Because again, it's not, and to kind of tie the Bills into this, just because we talk about the Bills all the time here, understandably so, you're not looking at the team and going, it's Josh Allen. He'll figure it out. I mean, it is Aaron
Right.
Rodgers. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers is very talented quarterback. Again,
He's also very smart on the field too. So,
but looking at what we saw last year with the Jets, a lot has to go right, and there is the chance. It's not a long shot. There is a chance it could go all right for them offensively.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at what happened last year, it's hard to sell a ton of confidence going into the 2024 season.
Right.
Considering, because again, Zach Wilson was the quarterback for 99% of the season. I get that.
Yep.
Or whoever else. But just kind of seeing the breakdown of the offensive line. Breece Hall is going to take a lot of pressure off of Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers. They got to be able to keep him upright. They got to be able to run block to allow Breece Hall to be as explosive as he was last year. And it's just, there's a lot more questions than answers.
Sure.
But again, wouldn't be surprised.
And that's where their number one pick, Olu Fashanu. I can't say his name right. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. I mean, dude's a freaking hoss. He's 6'6", 312 pounds, picked first. He's really going to be kind of like, he was the target piece to put in that offensive line to kind of help bolster that and protect Rodgers. So he's going to be, it's really going to depend, I think, a lot on how how Olu transitions into the NFL world from the college world. But you also look at too, even just going down through some of their draft picks, I think it's like I keep hearing people talk about, well, what about Jordan Travis? What about, and he was their 5th round pick for those that don't know, the quarterback out of Florida State that was en route to, Heisman consideration before a leg injury took him out for the undefeated Seminoles at the time. And, he's now getting what Zach Wilson was supposed to get last year. He's legit going to be redshirted. He's third string, may not even be. They're going to carry, at most, I think they're going to carry 2 rosters and maybe have somebody dub as an emergency in case, because they want to treat Jordan Travis as a project and see how he adapts, how he recovers, and all of that. So they're in this weird state right now where they're going to go either. It's really going to go very well or very horribly. I don't think there's going to be much of an in between. I think if it's playoffs or bust, and if it's not playoffs, it could be a 8-9 season, or a 9-8 season missing the playoffs, or whatever. If they don't make the playoffs, I think this team looks radically different next year. Again, starting over, and looking for like the next hot coordinator to try and bolster the team and do that. That'll take over the head coaching role and all that. It's going to be a make or break year for the Jets. I absolutely 100%.
And before we move on to other things here, I just really wonder too, if the Jets finish 10-7, 9-8, make the playoffs, if they don't make a run or take a run, that it also may be over. I mean, they may have one shot at this with Woody Allen, because again, I don't necessarily think Robert Saleh's gotten a fair shake. Whether or not that's true, it's just my opinion. It's my opinion.
Sure.
I think he's a great defensive mind. He's shown that with the Jets, making chicken salad out of chicken shit essentially for a long time. But in the National Football League,
the defense was never the question.
Offense. If your offense is trash,
right,
that's what it's going to be. So
I think that if we had a backup if we had Tyrod Taylor as the backup last year, I don't think the Jets season would have gone the way it did. There was, what was it? I think it was 4 or 5 straight games where the offense didn't score a touchdown, but yet in every single one of those games, the defense kept them in the game until the end. So if we had some level of competency, and I know the offensive line was kind of the thing, Zach Wilson was running for his life, and it's true, but in the same, like, if there was some level of competency, maybe release the ball a little faster. Don't hold on to it and take the sack. Throw it away, like those kinds of things, right? I think we would have had I don't want to say we would have been a playoff team. Certainly, 7-10, grand scheme of things, not too terrible. New England was 4-13, so it could have been much worse. But in the same, when you go into the season with all those high hopes and you're projected at, winning the division and possibly making a run, and you've got everybody believing it, and then the main catalyst for what this whole thing was built around goes down 4 plays in, and you're sitting on your hands like by week 3, like, well, this is a mulligan year. We're just going to have to look to next year. And they threw in the towel very early. I think now this year they made sure to, number one, bolster that offensive line, address a couple of those things. I don't think it's perfect, but it's certainly better than it was on paper last year. But then as well, getting a Tyrod Taylor, an established, well-rounded, like backup quarterback that knows he's being brought in to be a backup, but knows he can be a capable starter and he can hold the fort until, the starter gets back. They addressed those issues. They should have addressed these issues last year going into the season. Offensive line has been a big problem for the Jets for many, many years, not just last year. It was only magnified last year because they had so many primetime games expecting Aaron Rodgers and instead getting Zach Wilson or whomever that freaking one guy was that started, Tim Boyle or Tom Boyle or whatever his name was. And he got the start, and the offensive line has been something that has been talked about and been a point of contention for the New York Jets for many years. So this year they finally went ahead and did it. And I think a large part of that comes from all those primetime games and everybody seeing how badly Zach Wilson was running for his life, as a nation watching going, oh, damn, like this team is not good up front there. So this is, like I said, this is make or break year. This is going to be it now. And if the wheels come off, so too will the whole front office, and they'll be starting over next year.
I don't disagree about that one. I think I've
seen it so much with the Jets that it's like, okay, I know this is how it's going to play out one of two ways.
Going into the season, it definitely feels that way. And another thing too, to transition over to the Buffalo Bills, because again, this is our second, our top team that we like to talk about. The Jets they can sit comfortably second, but I wanted to shake it up a bit today on the Better Live Than Dead podcast and kind of take a little bit of a trust the podcast angle here.
Yeah, buddy.
The Buffalo Bills, again, I think are not getting enough respect and are being overlooked, which seems a little ridiculous and crazy to think. But I've looked at a handful of articles, read a couple places, enough to feel confident to say that I've seen more places project the Bills to finish third in the East this year.
I don't understand that.
Then I have seen them winning the East, which they've done for 5 straight years now, 4 straight years, 5 straight years.
Yeah.
So with the Buffalo Bills, yes, they did have some very big subtractions, which we'll talk about in a future Trust the Podcast episode. They had some big additions as well. But the shifting this offseason was making the team Josh Allen's team. It's not we've got a great defense that helps. It's they're going to live, they're going to die by Josh Allen. The defense is going to make plays. The offense is going to make plays. It's Josh Allen's team. It's no longer you need the defense to bail out so Josh can do enough. It's no. Josh has a great game, you're going to have a great game. Has a bad game, you're probably going to have a bad game.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine because, again, at some point in time,
you got to kind of take the training wheels off.
Well, with the contract for Josh Allen, the way that it is, you're going to have to start hitting on younger players.
Mm-hmm.
So going out 100%. And getting a guy and trading Stephon Diggs to clear up cap space for 2025, but going out and getting a guy like Keon Coleman now, you have to start trying to sprinkle in these younger players that are good and try to win while they're young because your quarterback is getting paid a lot of money. Granted, not getting paid anywhere near the highest in the league here and really anymore because that number's going through the roof.
That number resets every single year. And it's like the weirdest thing. Like the weirdest people can be the highest paid quarterback of all time and do nothing. Like we talk about Pat Mahomes. 3 or 4 years ago, he was the highest paid quarterback ever. Now I think he's like 8 out of 10.
It's the price of the pay to play, the cost of admission here. But looking at the Buffalo Bills schedule, John, the one that stuck in my craw that was kind of confusing to me is the Bills going 9-8. I understand, and again, this is just me looking at a few articles and just kind of basing an argument off of that, which is probably lazy, but it's the end of May.
Sure.
It's the time to have these lazy arguments and these lazy discussions to kind of just get it out and be like, that's stupid as hell. The Buffalo Bills are going to have a difficult schedule because they win the division. So they play other teams who have won their division. That's just how that works out. It's the common opponents are picked that way. If there are players or there are teams that they will face for specific reasons, scheduling reasons, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, but then they will end up playing just other teams who are really freaking good. So
Sure.
again, starting
of this list here, I don't. There's maybe like 2 or 3 of them that I could see being a problem. Like,
well, John, I said this to you at your Memorial Day shindig while you're smoking some meat. You're very good at smoking a meat. Thank you. It's a BLTD podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Kidding aside, even if the Bills go 3-3 in the division, say they split New England, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Okay, great. So everybody starts off 3-3.
right.
Just for argument's sake. The Bills play the Cardinals at home, the Jaguars at home on Monday night. They play the Ravens on Sunday night football.
Okay. That could
they go to Houston to take on the Texans.
I've got
they
winning that.
They take on the I almost said the Texans again, the Titans. Thank you. I had a screen pop up telling me that my antivirus software is okay. Great, awesome. Oh, go away.
Well, I got the Titans for a win, or excuse me, the Bills for a win there too. So now we got 3. I'm sorry, I'm at 4, 5. Wait, hold on. Miami, New York.
Starting up, we'll take out the East. So just starting off 3-3 with the division. You've got the Cardinals win, Jaguars probably a win. Baltimore, I'd be willing to take a loss there.
I would say Baltimore a loss there. So we'll give them 4 there. So I'm at Houston, 5-4 right now.
Houston, I'm going to say that probably should be a win. You'd hope.
I'm going to give them. It's at Houston. Steph Diggs revenge game. Fuck it. I'm going Buffalo anyways. So I'm at 6-4 now.
Tennessee Titans. That's
7.
Home. Tennessee on the road. Seattle. That's a tough one.
The travel to the West Coast is always hard. But I think the last 2 or 3 times Buffalo's done it, they've won. I'm giving the edge to them.
That's
I would
fair.
put Buffalo over Seattle. So
Colts feel like a win because they're not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City in Buffalo. Buffalo does beat Kansas City in the regular season. They just can't beat them in the playoffs. So I'm thinking, again, I know we're very biased here, but it's a 4:25 primetime game, nationwide game in Buffalo. Before a bye week.
I'm going to give that to the Chiefs. I think they're just stronger overall right now. Next year at this time, when we review the schedule, and the Bills have all that cap room to, that they gave up this year. Like this year's going to be a struggle year. The Bills are going to kind of feel a little more this year.
I don't think so. I don't think as bad as you think.
No.
We can talk about that in a second once we get done here.
All right. So I'm at I don't remember where I am now. 5 losses.
Well, I've got, what is it here? Yeah, I was going to say, then they have a bye week. They take on San Francisco at home on Sunday Night Football, which I think that's
okay. So I'm at 9. I'm at 9-5 after this Chiefs game. So San Francisco at home
on Sunday Night Football. If you're saying they lose to Kansas City, but then they have a week off to prepare for San Francisco on a Sunday night at home at Highmark Stadium.
West Coast traveling east, never favorable. Got the Bills there, so we're at 10 now.
Buffalo going to the Rams. The last time they played the Rams, they had that week 1 stunner.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are very good again. Still, really. That's a toss-up, honestly.
Could go either way. You know what? Because of the pattern here, I'm gonna say ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, for the argument's sake, I'll give it a loss.
Are you about to prove to me that the article is right that they predicted them to go 9-8 because we've got the Lions left?
No,
so
no, because I'm at 6. I'm at 6 losses right now.
Okay, good.
And we've already covered, the Patriots, Jets, Patriots, the last 3 there. So Lions, I would have as a win.
Okay, so then what's your final record at predicted for the Buffalo Bills next year?
Would be it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 6. Same as last year.
Again.
And that's with the Chiefs loss. If they were to beat the Chiefs, then 12-5. But definitely not 9-8. or 8-9 or whatever.
The Patriots are probably going to be better because they won, you said, 4 games last year. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers probably will be better. The Dolphins.
I don't think the Bills are going to split with the Pats though.
Well, that just argument's sake, I don't want to go one way or the other because again, they still found a way to lose to the bad Patriots last year.
You're right. You are right. Okay, I forgot about that.
So again, just for argument's sake, just to keep it fair, not to be too, just be a little more subjective, not to be too homerish and say, well, the Patriots are ass, so they'll lose both.
I'll say it.
Or hey, screw the Jets. The Bills are going to beat the Jets twice. Or hey, the Dolphins are dumb as hell. Like, yeah, I could sit here and say that the Bills are going to sweep the East and then they're going to go 13-4 next year. But I'm trying to be more logical here.
Yeah, no, I think 11-6 is reasonable. It's
2024 to me, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before on any other on Trust the Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
2024 for the Buffalo Bills really feels like when you're trying to get pregnant, but you're not actively trying, but you're also not actively not trying. So to me, this season coming up for the Buffalo Bills, if they don't win the Super Bowl, will it be disappointing? Sure. But was it really what they were trying to accomplish? I'm not sure.
If they sign Antonio Cromartie, though, if Antonio Cromartie were to try to make a comeback, or bring Phillip Rivers as a backup, think you got no trouble getting pregnant there.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, that's a very good point. But if they end up winning the Super Bowl this year, they're not going to be upset. That's what we wanted in the first place. Absolutely. So again, that's kind of where I've drawn that conclusion. It hits very close to home, with another child coming here in probably a week's time or less. So that one hits close to home, but it feels very logical to me that again, Brandon Beane mentioned that they moved Stephon Diggs before his contract became a quote albatross, which
right.
Fair. I get that. You clear up a lot of cap space. You're much more flexible going into the 2025 season. What does that do for the 2024 season? Not a whole lot, but you've got Dalton Kincaid a year under his belt. You've got Dawson Knox a year older, year wiser. You've got Curtis Samuel. You've got Josh Allen. You've got James Cook. You've got one of the best offensive lines in football. You've got a very good defense as well. I'm not going to bet against the Buffalo Bills. I wouldn't. That would be very dumb of anyone to do. That would be dumb of anyone to do. Again, it's not your drought era Bills. Bossman or Kevin Cobb as the big thing or anything. You got Josh mother Allen. Like that dude is the reason that they have. You can talk about all the pieces that they've built around him, and they've built very well, and they've built a lot of depth, and we've covered that for years now. But all of that means nothing if you don't have somebody that's the quarterback of the team, that is the true general that knows and can read and is smart and can make the plays and extend the plays and look. And Josh Allen truly does look. I know there are plays that are designed for him to run, but especially last year, he was looking a little more. He was handing the ball off a little more and letting James cook and doing his thing there. And I think, if Josh Allen was not Josh Allen, if Josh Allen was Josh Rosen, this would be a very, very different conversation. We'd probably be talking about, a veteran quarterback finishing off his career there in Buffalo and trying to make let Josh cook. Let Josh be Josh, and you'll be perfectly fine in 2024.
Exactly. Also, instantly, I'm really looking forward to seeing Keon Coleman develop. I really like that kid. I think he's gonna do good things.
I don't disagree. I would follow you 100% on that one. It definitely seems like the Buffalo Bills are going the Chiefs model of have a really good tight end and build out from there, which
absolutely
Dalton Kincaid is the guy there. So
he's awesome.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more of the Better Live Than Dead podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. And friends, we're back here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast, wrapping it up real quick with our new segment that we introduced last time we did the podcast 15 years ago. The Hot Take Corner. John.
Yes.
I had to do this to you because I was going to go check some baseball stats. Now, again, everybody knows, or they should know by now, big Red Sox fan. They are at 500 or around 500. So they're on pace pretty much to be 81-81. So I keep tabs on baseball as much as you would expect. So I went and did some digging. MajorLeagueBaseball.com did not disappoint. John, what's the first thing I see on their website that you absolutely hate?
The first thing I see on Major League Baseball's website that I absolutely hate.
If the season ended today.
Oh God! All right, no.
So I had to bring that up.
I was hoping that if anything would be the first thing that you would see when you go on the Major League Baseball site, it'd be the story about how they added Negro League stats and to the record books now, and that changes.
Ty Cobb, that prick, is no longer the leading.
He is not
average career batting average. Yeah,
that would belong to Mr. Josh Gibson.
Rightfully so. It took way too damn long for that to happen, but good on 100%. Major League Baseball for finally finishing that project out. John,
for those that don't know, Josh Gibson was on the 1943 Homestead Grays.
Somehow always ties back, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the season ended today, John, I'm going to say it again. Cleveland, the Yankees, they would have the byes in the American League. It'd be Minnesota at Seattle, Kansas City at Baltimore. In the NL, Philadelphia with a bye, the Dodgers with a bye. It'd be the Giants at the Brewers and the Padres at the Braves. Now, looking at this, man, the one thing that I cannot get past, the New York Yankees went all in this season. And I say that because they went out this offseason and acquired Juan Soto, which is something we have not talked about yet. Mm-hmm. From the looks and the sounds of it, this may end up being a 1-year deal and all in, chips to the middle. Hey, let's try to scare these people away and win while we can. Mm-hmm. Because Hal Steinbrenner has come out and since said that, we can't have a $300 million payroll, all this stuff. And well, we know Juan Soto is going to want a lot of money. And John, rightfully so. Right now,
absolutely.
At the time of recording, batting .312, 15 home runs, 46 RBIs in 56 games. His, according to, and I've got this popped up here, Baseball Savant. I wish I could show you this right now. His batting run value, a 99. His fielding run value, an 81. His expected WOBA, 100. Expected batting average, 99. Expected slugging, 100. Average exit velocity in the 100th percentile. His bat speed in the 96th percentile. His barrel percentage in the 100th percentile. His hard hit percentage in the 99th percentile. Again, he is so freaking good, and he fits into Yankee Stadium so well.
Yes.
Again, Juan Soto is proving why at 25 years of age, he's on pace to be a future Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely. But just looking at the stats and how great of a fit he's been for the New York Yankees, I can't think of a move, John, that's been any better than that one has so far this past offseason.
I would agree. He's injected a different kind of vibe as well, too. Like you when you see him out there, and this was even before he was a Yankee, but he was always having fun. He loves the game of baseball. It's very clear by the way he approaches his at-bats, the way he approaches the game, the way he talks to the media, the way he is the guy that, stereotypical Yankees, yesteryear would be like, that is a captain. That is the guy. That is the type of guy, the player we want as a Yankee. He does good by the game. He, is well liked and respected by his teammates, plays hard, doesn't make excuses, never did. And the dude is going to get a lot of money. Like, I know that Hal Steinbrenner said, hey, we can't have a $300 million payroll. Okay, good. Well, back up the brinks for Juan Soto and figure out what to do with Giancarlo Stanton, or some of the other players that we may not necessarily need. I think they have a pretty good nucleus of talent as it is now, but it is expensive, and Giancarlo is a very, very big piece of that salary puzzle. Obviously, Judge getting his extension last year, year before last rather. Or before the last season, he got his extension, stayed with the Yankees, well known. We know that he's in there. He's locked in. Get Soto in there too. They've done a pretty good job kind of picking and playing different pieces to the puzzle here. I know we've got Anthony Rizzo as well, but he's 34. DJ LeMahieu is 35. So you've got some of these older folks that are going to kind of start coming down. Giancarlo Stanton is 34 years old. He has not been what they thought he was going to be. And I think maybe, to kind of quote Denny Green there, when I say he's not who he thought he was, maybe the Yankees this offseason let him off the hook.
Here's the thing, though. Their lineup, 2, 3, 4, 5, Judge or Soto, Judge, Verdugo, Stanton. Judge, 17 home runs. Soto, 15 home runs. Stanton, 13 home runs. Out of 56 games, Judge, Soto, 56 games, Stanton, 49 games. They've stayed healthy. They've stayed consistent. Yes, Stanton's batting average is not great, but when you have Giancarlo Stanton DHing in the 5-hole with 13 home runs in 49 games,
that's not bad either.
It's not often you're going to get through that 2 through 5 unscathed. And that's
right.
I really think that Aaron Judge is an incredible talent. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Again, lifelong Red Sox fan till the day I die, but I can understand talent when I see it. I can understand a great freaking player when I see it. But here's the thing. Aaron Judge is always going to be good, I think, regardless of what happens. I mean, last year he was hurt. He played 106 games, still had 37 home runs and 75 RBIs. The year before, 62 and 131. But the one thing the Yankees have not been able to do is insulate him properly on both sides. Because all of a sudden, when you've got a Juan Soto batting second, you're going to get a lot more at bats for a Juan Soto.
Absolutely.
But right now, looking at, and I'm just clicking around. I'm sorry if I'm going as fast as my computer can go.
Well, while you
right
click
now,
around,
John, right now, Juan Soto's OBP is 408 in front of Aaron Judge.
That's insane. But that's what they got him for, though. They went in to get him because they needed that kind of production in front of Aaron Judge to at least have someone on base at minimum. And Juan Soto is going to get his hits, and he's going to get on base, and he's going to be a chance for Judge or Stanton or whomever to get that RBI. That's why they got him. The people that were whoever was in the 2-hole before, it wasn't a surefire bet that they was going to get this kind of production. I don't think anybody anticipated. I thought when they got Soto, they knew they were going to get an increase in production in the earlier lineup. I don't think that they bet it was going to be this type of like every game he's doing something. And I don't think they thought that. I think that they may have went, okay, let's do a 1-year rental, see what we get out of him. This right now, if he keeps this pace up, multiple teams are going to be back in the brinks up, and the Yankees are going to need to decide whether or not they want to pay this guy. And if it's all in and they end up winning or get close to it, it seems like it'd be silly for them not to do it.
And looking at, speaking of the Boston Red Sox and speaking of players who have really been great acquisitions, the one that I'll leave you on, John, that we can wrap up the podcast with today is old friend Chris Sale. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the National League and their statistics or just the National League in general, but over the offseason, the Boston Red Sox traded Chris Sale and a boatload of money to the Atlanta Braves to acquire shortstop Vaughn Grissom, who is likely going to be the Red Sox second baseman of the future. He had an injury coming into the season. He's played 19 games, batting 141. He's really kind of still in his spring training phase where it's, trying to get timing down, all that stuff. But Chris Sale, after playing, in 2018, he had a 27 starts. He had a 2.11 ERA, went 12-4. 2019, his elbow started to bark a bit. Not as effective, 6-11, a 4.40 ERA in 25 starts. 2021, it started the complete fall off of just bad luck, elbow injury. He fractured a rib on a bike and just ended his season, hurt his wrist, had to have surgery, all that stuff. Over a 3-year span with the Red Sox from 21 to 23, he made 31 starts total and threw about, 102, that's 140, we'll say about 150 innings.
Okay.
And went 11-7 in 3 seasons combined this year with the Braves. Revitalized. 8-1 in 10 starts with a 2.12 ERA. Wow. Looking like Chris Sale of old. Now, sometimes guys just need to change the scenery.
Right.
It didn't really go bad in Boston. It's just that his elbow fell apart, which kind of is expected in this day and age in baseball. And he was not able to be the workhorse that he was. And he, even after Chris Sale was traded, he did say, I view my time in Boston as kind of a failure because of how it ended. And his body broke down and he got that big contract and he didn't feel like he lived up to his end of the bargain for that contract. But, it really sucks, but it's good to see. It's right now for me, John, being a Red Sox fan, obviously it's that so Boston where they trade away Chris Sale. He's now doing great.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
you're looking at a team in the Boston Red Sox who, again, don't know how much you followed them right now. They are 27-28 in baseball in the regular season. That's the word I'm looking for. But if you go to the injury update page, holy guacamole, my man. It's really bad.
All right.
The Red Sox they lost Lucas Giolito, blew his elbow out. They've got Garrett Whitlock, who had a hamstring injury, came back and tore his elbow. They've got Tristan Cassis, their first baseman, on the 60-day DL with a rib injury. Trevor Story with a shoulder injury, out for the year. Masataka Yoshida out until at least mid-June with a thumb injury. Tyler O'Neill has a knee injury. He's hurt, but he's day-to-day right now. So this team has had horrible luck with injuries, but still finds himself at 28-27, which, again, it's a contract year for Alex Cora. Someone is going to pay him a lot of money. But again,
I'm sure they will. And you know, here's the thing with baseball. You're 28-27 now in May. By the All-Star break, it could be radically different. They could be in first place. They could be closing in on first place. They could also be, fourth place, right? We're way, way, way early in the season. And I probably pay a little more attention to like all of these things right around the All-Star break. And then when pennant races and pennant chases start, that's when it gets real exciting. That's when you start to see. So like this early part of the season, beginning until, the All-Star break, like this is, get the kinks out, bolster yourself up if you can. The Yankees are in a good position. The Phillies are in a pretty good position here. The Red Sox are kind of like, Dodgers in a good position. The Red Sox are kind of like, the Giants and I almost said NFC West, NL West, where, they're 29-27. They play pretty well. They play pretty hard. And if they make a small little run, they could be right up there. And Boston's not too far away either. So I think it'll be interesting to see it play out. But yeah, looking at this injury list though, like, holy cow, that's a lot to come back from. And the fact that they're even if it's a game above 500, they're still above 500. And that's where you want to be. You want to be over 500 because then the next hurdle is get 5 games over 500. Okay.
Well, again, we talked about the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
The Red Sox are kind of there right now, just without being good already.
But kudos to you, Chris Sale. 8-1, 2.12 ERA, 78 strikeouts right now. Not too bad, not too shabby. Good on you.
Kudos to Juan Soto for stepping it up even more than he already has in his career. On pace to be on pace right now to be a future Hall of Famer with how just goddamn talented he is. He's like 175 home runs at age 25. Like he's
insane. It's insane. Selfishly, as a Yankees fan, I hope that he signs and stays long term and becomes a a Hall of Famer wearing Yankees colors. But man, oh man, whomever gets him, you're getting a real treat.
The Mets, baby.
God,
I have no idea.
I would not. I'll tell you what. It wouldn't surprise me if the other New York team jumped in on there. And I have a small little soft spot for the Mets too, because my grandfather liked the Mets. My grandmother loved the Yankees. My grandfather liked the Mets. So we'd always watch either a Yankees game or a Mets game, right? So I will watch Mets games if there's nothing on and so on and so forth, and think of my grandfather. So if he were to go there, I wouldn't be too hurt about it. I would just have to ignore the hell out of all of the other Mets fans, because Mets fans today, for some strange reason, there had to be, believe they're like Dolphins fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, where they think they're owed everything, and they think this year is their year, and then every year it's not. And then
I thought you were just going to say that they were like, sorry to jump in there, like they're Dolphins fans, as in hopes are really high, wolfing a lot of junk.
Yeah,
and then by like mid to late season, you're like, where did they go?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it went by. We usually hear before it's hey, where did the Mets fans go? It's we start hearing all the excuses. and then we ignore them while they're making the excuses, and then they go away, and then we don't realize that they've gone away until we start hearing them again right around the offseason.
Exactly. Mets fans, don't send hate my way. I have a soft spot in my heart for Mets fans because I don't like the Yankees. But,
Yeah.
John, I don't think there's any better time than now to wrap this bad boy up. It's been
buddy,
a
we was talking baseball.
That's an old school BLTD intro right there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, buddy.
Maybe if I can find it, I'll bust it out here for the end. Who knows? But
very good. Very good.
With that being said, I'm Ryan Wolfe. John is John Cimino. You can find us on the internet. You can probably find us around wandering the streets of Rochester, New York, I'm sure. But as always, we are better live than dead.
You're not.
We'll catch you sometime very soon. Hoping we can get ourselves in person and we can talk some more sports. But as always, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Ciao, ciao, everybody.
I'm talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.